Welcome, team. As your QA director, I'm genuinely thrilled to guide you through today's explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. For decades, our industries, whether you're talking pharma, finance, or tech, operated on this one fundamental physical premise. If a record wasn't captured in permanent blue ink, signed by hand, and securely locked away in some heavy metal filing cabinet, well, it simply didn't exist. But today, data isn't just a physical record anymore. It is literally the absolute lifeblood of our operations. We've undergone this massive, totally critical shift from physical papers to highly complex electronic systems. Understanding exactly how to protect and validate this new form of information is what we call data integrity. And guys, it is the single most important foundation of our work today.
You know, there's just a stark contrast between our past and our present. On one hand, you had those dusty old ledgers. They were cumbersome, sure, but they had a real physical weight and permanence to them, right? You couldn't easily erase a page without leaving a blatant physical smudge or a torn edge. But on the other hand, we have our modern reality, invisible digital data. It's incredibly efficient, no doubt about it, but it comes with a frankly terrifying vulnerability. It's weightless. It's easily deleted with just a single keystroke. And honestly, it's surprisingly easy to fake if the right digital fortresses aren't built around it. We are dealing with really high-stakes, invisible assets now.
So, to really understand why regulatory agencies are so incredibly strict today, we kind of have to look back at the history of data disasters that forced their hands. Back in the early 1900s, quality control was basically just an optimistic promise. But then, the 1970s hit. The FDA actually had to formalize Good Laboratory Practices, or GLP, after unearthing massive systemic fraud and toxicology reports. Yikes, right? Then came the true watershed moment, the 1993 Barr Case. This court ruling completely changed the game for us. It legally established that companies absolutely cannot test into compliance. What does that mean? It means you can't just keep running a test over and over, quietly tossing the failing results into the trash until you finally get that passing grade. You cannot hide the failures anymore, period. This directly paved the way for the rigorous digital standards we operate under today.
Which brings us to the most absolutely crucial acronym in our industry, ALCOA. Now, I know ALCOA might sound like some sort of abstract secret society, but I really want you to view this as our everyday universal language for truth. Whether you're in the laboratory, down on the manufacturing floor, or sitting at a desk in the corporate office, ALCOA is the core regulatory framework that guarantees every single piece of data we generate is complete, consistent, and strictly accurate. It's basically how we prove to the rest of the world that our work actually happened exactly the way we say it did.
So let's build this framework out, starting with that very first letter, A, which stands for attributable. This asks a really simple but crucial question. Who actually did the work? In the old paper world, attribution was a breeze. You just picked up a shared pen from the desk and signed your physical name. Done. But in our digital world, the rules of attribution change entirely. Proving who did the work now means utilizing a unique, highly secure digital login. That means no shared passwords, ever. Your personal login is your digital, legally binding signature.
Let's break down the rest of that core ALCOA acronym, using things we do every single day. L is for legible. That means no more doctor handwriting. Digitally speaking, it means the data must be perfectly readable throughout its entire life cycle. C is contemporaneous. Say you're logging inventory or filling out timesheets. You record it exactly as it happens, in real time. Backdating? That's the ultimate compliance violation. O is original. A photocopy of a printout? Nope, not original. The electronic record sitting right there in the database is the true original. And finally, A for accurate. Is it true? This means zero errors and absolutely zero unauthorized edits.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the standard had to adapt over time. As our computer systems became a lot more sophisticated, regulators quickly realized that baseline ALCOA just wasn't quite enough to cover all those sneaky digital loopholes. So the guidelines got tougher and we got the plus signs. But what exactly do these extra plus signs demand of our daily records? Well, let's take a look.
The very first plus turns ALCOA into ALCOA Plus, adding 4 really strict requirements to our data governance. First up, complete. This is absolutely vital. It means our data must include all the failed tests. Remember that lesson from the 1993 Barr case we just talked about? Second, consistent. The data has to follow the correct chronological sequence every single time. Third, enduring. If an inspector comes back in 10 years, that exact digital file still needs to open up and be perfectly readable. And fourth, available, meaning if an FDA or EMA inspector walks right into my office today and asks for a specific record, it must be instantly ready for review, no excuses.
And that brings us to the newest addition to our framework, the second plus, giving us the full ALCOA ++. This final plus stands for traceability. I want you to think of traceability as sort of a digital Google Maps for your data. Regulators don't just want to see your final destination, the final report. They need to see the entire unbroken journey. We have to trace exactly where the raw measurement began in step 1, how the system processed that data in step 2, all the way to that generated final report in step 3. We're talking full transparency from start to finish.
This right here represents a huge shift in how quality assurance operates. Back in the old paper days, if I wanted to validate our tools, I might literally just check the pen to make sure it had permanent blue ink. Simple, right? But in the digital era, we can't just trust what we see on a computer monitor. We have to legally prove that the software generating, calculating, and storing that data works exactly as intended every single time. And we do this through a really rigorous process called Computer System Validation, or CSV for short. Essentially, CSV is our digital equivalent of checking the ink.
To enforce all of this, we rely on the absolute MVP of digital data, the electronic audit trail. This is a secure, computer-generated, time-stamped record that permanently tracks every single data modification. Think of it exactly like your personal bank statement. If someone hacks into your bank and magically changes a $40 withdrawal to a $500 withdrawal, your statement instantly flags the time, the date, and the specific user who made the change. Well, our electronic audit trails do the exact same thing for our lab and manufacturing data. If you change a 4 to a 5, the audit trail catches you immediately.
So if we have these highly secure digital systems in place, where do things actually fall apart? Ask yourselves, why are hybrid systems considered the absolute danger zone for our compliance? What happens when the physical paper world and the secure digital world violently collide?
Here's the deal. The crucial point is this loophole right here, the danger zone. A hybrid system is when you use a highly validated computer to run a complex test, but then you simply print out the passing result on a piece of paper, sign it, and secretly delete the raw digital file that might contain early failing runs. As your QA director, I need you to hear me loud and clear on this. Regulators and global inspectors actively hunt for this exact behavior. They absolutely despise hybrid loopholes because it is the easiest way to manipulate data. If you delete that raw digital file, you've destroyed the original, and you have completely broken the ALCOA framework. To truly understand the gravity of this, we don't even have to look that far back in history. Just consider the 2013 global pharmaceutical scandal. Guys, this wasn't just some minor clerical error. This was a massive, systemic failure at a major global firm. It was discovered that staff were actively deleting unwanted electronic test results. If a batch of medicine failed quality control, they just deleted the raw data and reran it over and over until they got a paper printout that passed.
The fallout from that? It was devastating. Because of these deleted files, regulators completely dropped the hammer. The FDA issued strict import bans. The company's stock value plummeted, wiping out literally billions of dollars overnight. But you know what? Far worse than the financial penalty was the absolute destruction of public trust. Patients rely on our data to know for sure that the medicine they are taking is actually safe. Data integrity isn't just some bureaucratic check-the-box exercise. It is a literal survival strategy for our business and for the public.
Which brings us to a really hard truth. Software doesn't commit fraud, people do. And people are heavily guided by their environment. So we've got to pivot from the disaster to the solution. Data integrity is completely reliant on a top-down management culture. The real question we face as leaders is, how do we actively build an environment of true data honesty, where staff don't feel terrified to report a failing result?
Well, here is our practical QA director's checklist for everyday compliance. Number 1, management must actively reward honest reporting over just getting a pass. If an employee catches a failed test, they should be praised for protecting the product, not penalized for delaying a shipment. Number 2, we strictly restrict delete and edit access in all our systems. Number 3, quality assurance can't just review the final polished report. We must actively, periodically review those electronic audit trails to look for any anomalies. And 4, we enforce a strict top-down data governance policy that perfectly aligns with global bodies like the WHO.
I really want to leave you with this final, uncompromising thought. If the data isn't right, the work didn't happen. In the eyes of the law, and in the eyes of our patients and clients, a single deleted file or unrecorded failure basically undermines everything we do.
Following ALCOA++ isn't just about keeping the regulators happy, folks. It's the standard that keeps the medicines we take, the planes we fly in, and the banks we use safe and honest. The next time you log into a system, I want you to ask yourself, is my work complete, accurate, and fully traceable? Because if it isn't, whose life are you putting at risk? Thank you for your focus today, team. Take these standards back to your desks and let's maintain those digital fortresses.